I never thought I would stand in my own kitchen feeling like a stranger in the house I spent 30 years turning into a home. The air smelled the same as it always did, coffee from the old pot and the faint lavender from the sachets I still tucked into every drawer. But the way Sarah looked at me that morning made the walls feel colder than any winter we ever had. She stood by the island with her arms crossed, her perfect blonde hair catching the sunlight like she belonged in a magazine, and I belonged somewhere else. "Harold and I have decided it's time," she said, her voice sweet like poisoned honey. "We think it would be better for everyone if you moved into assisted living." Better for everyone? Those words landed in my chest like stones. I looked past her to the framed photo on the fridge, the one from the day my son brought her home for the first time. She was smiling then, her hand on my arm like I was already family. Now her eyes wouldn't even meet mine. I felt my fingers tighten around the handle of my coffee mug, the same mug my husband bought me on our 20th anniversary, the one that says, "World's Best Mom" in chipped red letters. I wanted to laugh or cry or scream, but all I managed was a quiet, "This is my house, Sarah." She gave me that tight little smile people give when they think they've already won. "Actually, it's not," she said. "Harold's name is on everything now, and he agrees with me." My son walked in right then, still in his pajamas, his hair messy from sleep. He wouldn't look at me either, just rubbed the back of his neck the way he used to when he was 10 and broke my favorite vase. "Mom, it's not personal," he mumbled. "We just need space. The kids need their own rooms, and you'd be more comfortable somewhere with people your own age." People my own age? As if I was already halfway in the grave. I felt the years rush over me like a wave. All the nights I sat up with him when he had fever, all the baseball games I drove him to in the old blue station wagon, all the times I worked double shifts at the hospital so he could go to college without loans, and now I was being gently nudged out the door like an old couch that didn't match the new decor. I set the mug down carefully so my hands wouldn't shake. "You should ask your father's lawyer about the deed before you start packing my things," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Sarah rolled her eyes. "We already did. Everything is in Harold's name." I just nodded and walked past them, up the stairs to my bedroom, the one I shared with my husband for 41 years, the one where he took his last breath holding my hand. I closed the door and leaned against it, and for the first time in months, I let myself cry. Not loud, just quiet tears that soaked the collar of the sweater I was wearing, his old gray sweater that still smelled faintly of cedar and him. I cried for the boy who used to run to me when thunderstorms scared him. I cried for the man who promised me on our wedding day that he would always take care of me. I cried because I was 68 years old and suddenly invisible in my own life. But then I stopped because something hard and bright sparked inside my chest. Anger, maybe, or pride, or just the memory of who I used to be before I learned to make myself small so everyone else could feel big. I opened the safe in the closet, the one hidden behind the winter coats. Inside was the folder I hadn't touched since the week after the funeral, the original deed to this house, my name at the top in bold black ink, Elizabeth Marie Thompson, and below it, in my husband's careful handwriting, a note he left for me. "For my Lizzie, this home will always be yours, no matter what anyone says. I love you forever." I held that paper to my heart and felt him with me again, strong and sure like he always was. I walked back downstairs. Sarah was already boxing my books, stacking them like they were trash. Harold was on the phone with some facility, asking about availability. I stood in the doorway and waited until they noticed me. "Before you go any further," I said, holding up the deed, "you might want to read this." Sarah snatched it from my hand, thinking I was bluffing. I watched her eyes move across the page, watched her face go from smug to confused to pale. "This can't be right," she whispered. "It's right," I said. "Your father-in-law put the house in my name the day we bought it. He never changed it, not even when he updated his will. He wanted to make sure I was never at anyone's mercy." Harold took the paper with shaking hands. "Mom, why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because I never thought I'd need to," I answered. "I thought my own son would want his mother in the home he grew up in. I thought family meant something." Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. Sarah started to speak, then stopped. For the first time since she walked into our lives, she had nothing to say. I looked at my son, looked at the man he had become, and felt my heart break all over again. You have two choices, I said softly. You can respect this is still my house and we can figure out how to live together like a family, or you can fight me in court and lose, because that deed is ironclad and the lawyer who drafted it is still alive and very happy to testify. Harold's eyes filled with tears. Sarah looked like she wanted to disappear. I didn't feel triumph. I felt tired, so deeply tired. I'm not asking you to love me, I told them. I'm not even asking you to like me. But this is my home, the only one I have left of him, and I will not be bullied out of it. I turned and walked back upstairs. Behind me, I heard Sarah start to cry, not the pretty kind, the ugly, broken kind. I heard my son tell her to stop. I heard him say, "She's right. We were wrong." I closed my bedroom door and sat on the bed that still had his dent in the pillow. I didn't smile. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt old and sad and fiercely determined to keep the last piece of him I had. Later that night, Harold knocked on my door. He stood there holding the world's best mom mug filled with fresh coffee. "I'm sorry, Mom," he whispered. "I got scared about money and Sarah kept saying and I let you down." I took the coffee and let him sit beside me. "I know you're grown," I said. "I know you have your own family now, but I'm still your mother, and this is still my home. We can make it work. We always have." He laid his head on my shoulder like he did when he was little. Sarah never apologized, not directly. But the next morning, my books were back on the shelves, my lavender sachets were still in the drawers, and when I walked into the kitchen, she stepped aside so I could reach the coffee pot first. Some wounds don't heal clean. Some families stitch themselves back together with rough thread. But we stayed. I stayed in the house that still carried his laughter in the walls, and the home that was mine by love and by law. And every morning, when the sun came through the same window it always had, I poured coffee into the chipped red mug, and I remembered that sometimes strength looks like an old woman refusing to leave her kitchen. Sometimes love looks like staying when everyone expects you to go. And sometimes the quietest voice in the room is the one that finally says, "No, this is mine, and I'm keeping it."